Do you know about alchemical sexual alchemy? Do you know that the story of Jesus, how it's been altered in certain ways? I mean, yes, there was a guy, yes, there was teachings, all that stuff. The parallel between that and alchemical sex is that there's 33 vertebrae in your spine. There's 33 years in the life of Jesus.
Christ.
Okay? There is a substance or liquid or a substance that comes from your medulla, which is basically completely looks like the Ark of the Covenant, has angel's wings around it, the whole thing. So this substance comes from your medulla, makes the trip down your spine to your sacrum, which is
Quick, get a dictionary.
Christ coming down into human form.
Yeah.
And if you don't squander that essence, that sexual essence, it ascends again and goes back up to heaven, which is your thing. It's also the story of Santa Claus. Why he comes down the chimney is because this juice or this whatever substance actually passes what's called the claustrum, which is where they got Santa Claus.
Hey guys, I wasn't going to make a video today because I'm traveling to the UK for a week and a half, 2 weeks, to see family, as all of you know, and it's always a horrible day to say goodbye to the children. You know, you all know they're not my children by blood, but by my heart they're my children, and saying goodbye is awful. So we spent a bit of time with them last night and getting ready to go, but I couldn't miss a chance to try and get this video on today if I can, because something very profound has happened inside the public eye. Now, Salman, who was just here climbing Mount Kilimanjaro to help raise money for the children, has just tagged me in a post, and it was Jim Carrey speaking about the sacred secretion. Now, I've got one of, if not the most, I think, the most watched videos on YouTube on that topic. I've also got one of the biggest collections, as far as I know, I might be wrong, there might be others, of musings, as I call them, or talks, or however, about the sacred secretion. I'm not top by any measure, but I've got one of the biggest, and I'm one of the top voices for getting this out onto free media, which is global media, because it's nowhere else on the planet. So for me, it's a hugely, hugely important message. I believe the knowledge of the sacred secretion, which he's just spoken about, and he calls it the alchemy of transformation of sexual energy, which is another way of perceiving it. But if you're sexually moral and you don't overindulge and become overly acidic, etc., then absolutely you can call it that. But I call it the sacred secretion. Others call it the Christ within. And it's the secretion I've spoke about in length that we secrete within our bodies, and then we return via correct living, via temperance and pure thoughts towards others, which lead to pure actions. And in my experience, service to God. I'm one of the blessed few on the planet who spent the last 5 years of my life living for that which God has asked me to live for, which turned out to be children in desperate need, as you all know here. This knowledge is so heavily suppressed. I know that it's a liberator for mankind, because the elitists, they suppress that which can quash their rule. Now you look at the Vatican suppressing it with their pinecone statues. You look at the misinterpretations done by accident by religious leaders all over the planet. This exists in the Dharma, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Bible, the Quran. It's everywhere. It's a common union that mankind could have to find some form of oneness between their belief systems. But everybody, unless you access it, you have a linear brain that says, no, this is the only possible way. You'll have Christians saying the only way to God is through Jesus, you can't do it through Allah. But what if the only way to God is through Jesus because Jesus was telling you to do what he told you to do? Why do you call me Lord and not do as I ask? As he said, don't fast, don't live for others, don't give it away to the poor. What's going to happen to you? You're not going to preserve the sacred secretion, which is just being referred to by a mainstream celebrity. This knowledge literally can liberate humanity. 100%. Humanity can be liberated by the knowledge of the sacred secretion, because in liberating themselves with that, they learn how the human body works at its best. Goodbye depression, goodbye lack of temperance, goodbye sexual immorality, goodbye pornography addictions, goodbye alcohol addictions, goodbye drug addictions, goodbye obsessive compulsive problems, goodbye judgment of others, goodbye nearly all negative behaviours. If our children were taught how to preserve that substance to get their body to vibrate in a way where they are constantly attuned antenna of prayer to the realm of God, and thus their heart is always roaring, always happy. That is the sacred secretion. That is the importance of it. And a man I made a video about recently, Jim Carrey, has just spoken about it in the public eye. And many thousands of ears have heard what he's got to say, but I know only a small percentage will look into what he's saying. But it's important that people understand this science, because it is the physical functioning of the human body to reach God. And if we just persist to hear things and don't find the discipline to become a strong human being, as I said in a recent video, is not someone who can exercise important, but the true muscle of a human is the intellect, the wisdom and the knowledge. That's what sets us aside from the animal world. You want to lift weights to get strong? Go out in the jungle and fight a gorilla. You're not going to win. But if you want to overcome all aspects of all problems humanity face, this is where it'll come from. Knowledge. And that man hopefully just opened the door with a key to many people on the planet who can look into what he was saying, because it's true. I have used the sacred secretion. I have used the alchemy of Kundalini, as it's been labelled with him, or the transformation of that energy within you to become the best functioning human being I can. If you obey the teachings of the Buddha or the Krishna or Jesus, you will too. Even if you know it or not, you will too. If you fast, you pray, you live for others, you have pure thoughts, you will align your body to have the best possible balance that it can have, and you will be the best functioning human being you can be. And when I started practicing this, as well as seeking God with an open heart, I have done all that has been achieved here using that every single day of my life. Over 700 kids that we provide for, over 600 out of child labour. The other 70 are now living with us, as you all know. We've got 60 rescue dogs from nothing. I couldn't have done that before I knew this information, before I knew this, before I understood why meditation and temperance were actually physically important, because it makes my body work better, makes my brain more powerful, makes my ability to function in the present moment and do what God needs me to do better than it ever could have been before. And yet people are still out there not doing this science, not doing what God asked, and sitting complaining and moaning and calling other people out and saying that they're not true Christians because they haven't awakened to it. And they don't need to know about the sacred secretion, don't need to know about the transformation of this energy. As long as you just follow what was taught, for instance, by Jesus, and you fast and you live for others and you live with love first, it will happen to you. But the problem is, and the problem we face, is that for many people, they've never done it because they've never obeyed. Instead, they've called, in the predominant Western instance, they've called Jesus Lord and not done as he asked, exactly what he said. And this is not good enough. This does not make you a follower of Christ. It makes you a follower of a religious institution which has morphed and dismantled the true teaching and the very core teaching of every religion and spiritual practice on the planet that has a strong, profound document that's lasted centuries. Hidden inside all of there is the esoteric codes which I've covered in hundreds of videos on my channel, of the science of the sacred secretion and attuning the human body to be the perfect antenna of prayer, whereby you can serve others and serve God with faith, because you then have no more need concern or worry about having money in a bank account, etc. Because you know you can pray. You still need money to function. I can't feed all these hundreds of children without it, but I don't live by it. I don't bank money. I don't have my own bank account saving up money, etc. Because my bank account exists in my faith. When I need something, I humble myself, I call out, and he comes. And that's how it should be for all humans. That's how it was for the native tribes. But thus, we've gotten lost, and we think that our two hands and our 2 feet are the things that can do it for us. They can to some degree, but without the sacred secretion, you're 30% of the human being you can be. With the sacred secretion, you can eradicate all problems. Overeating, substance abuse, depression, it'll all wash away. I promise. So, round of applause for Jim Carrey, in my eyes. Very brave of him. Let's hope he doesn't turn up dead, as often the establishment like to do to such people. God bless, guys. Bye. Oh, I hope he doesn't end up, by the way, of course, but just saying, it can happen. God bless.
Do you know about alchemical sexual alchemy? Do you know that the story of Jesus, how it's been altered in certain ways? I mean, yes, there was a guy, yes, there was teachings, all that stuff. The parallel between that and alchemical sex is that there's 33 vertebrae in your spine. There's 33 years in the life of Jesus.
Christ.
Okay. There is a substance or liquid or a substance that comes from your medulla, which is basically completely looks like the Ark of the Covenant, has angels' wings around it, the whole thing. So this substance comes from your medulla, makes the trip down your spine to your sacrum, which is
Quick, get a dictionary.
Christ coming down into human form.
Yeah.
And if you don't squander that essence, that sexual essence, it ascends again and goes back up to heaven, which is your thing. It's also the story of Santa Claus. Why he comes down the chimney is because this juice or this whatever substance actually passes what's called the claustrum, which is where they got Santa Claus. So it goes down the chimney and back up the chimney.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.